Hey guys, welcome back, and it's 2026, meaning it's a new F1 season, and we kickstart the season with Australia, Melbourne. Now this race was a pretty good race, as it started off with a Mercedes front row lockout. A front row lockout means that both drivers from the same team finished on the front row. That's basically what it means, and that meant that Mercedes had a chance to actually get a 1-2 on the podium. Now, the race was somewhat interesting, to say the least, because we had the first lap, which led to many different, let's say, complications. Because we had the Aston Martin, who basically didn't even finish the race. We had Nico Hulkenberg, who basically had a problem with the car, meaning that his car would not work, and that led to him not even starting the race. We had Oscar Piastri, who crashed in the formation lap, and then we got the first lap, which it was interesting because we had Leclerc, who overtook both the Mercedes to get first place, and then both Kimi Antonelli and George Russell had finished. Well, they did finish, but George got second because he was still behind Leclerc. However, Kimi dropped down to at least outside the top 5, and then Arvid Lindblad, who is the rookie of the 2026 season, he had got to 5th, and then a couple of laps later, Isaac Hadjar, who didn't even finish the race last season, didn't finish the race again because he had a engine failure because of the smoke coming out, and due to the 2026 regulations removing the MGU-K, it meant that the car would obviously be lighter and faster, and also be more cost effective, as the 2026 cars are meant to be a step forward into F1's 2030 net zero plan that they have. Now, let's say, for example, if the next race, which is China, which is this Sunday, if the next race, China, ends up being a really good race, and it is actually a good race, because we have our first sprint in the second race of the season, which in my opinion should only happen in the third race, Japan. However, they decided to put in the second race, so we're gonna see what that's like. And then after Hadjar had his engine failure, the race was okay, because we had Fernando Alonso, who couldn't even finish 20 laps. He literally had to retire the car. And then Verstappen, who was starting 20th, he was gaining positions every single lap, which led him to finish 6th. Arvid Lindblad got in the top 8. In fact, every single British driver, so Norris, Hamilton, Lindblad, who's the new driver, George, and Ollie Berman, all got into the top 8, which meant that every single British driver finished in the top 8, with only Verstappen, Leclerc, and Kimi Antonelli being the only three people from different countries who actually got in the top 8, along with those other 5 that I mentioned earlier. In fact, the race was so good that it led to a virtual safety car, and then it led to another virtual safety car, And then we had our third virtual safety car. So we had about 3 virtual safety cars in the race. We also had Stroll's finish was not even classified. We also had Verstappen managing to finish 6th. We had Leclerc finishing 3rd. We had Mercedes 1-2. We also had Hamilton surprisingly finishing 4th, which is a lot better compared to his first race at Ferrari, because it was a nightmare season. Well, nightmare season for him last season. And I feel like Hamilton might be able to win, might be in contention for the championship, but I don't. Yes, he has the experience, but like, he's getting older, and getting older can make it. While Jesse would have the experience, we wouldn't know every single like track, because there's a new track called the Madrid, which is gonna happen in about September, October, and then like the race itself was pretty good. 8 of the 11 teams managed to finish with points, and that is Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull, Haas, Racing Bulls, Audi, and Alpine. Those 8 teams got points. The 3 teams that didn't get points are Williams, Cadillac, and Aston Martin. Now you heard me say 2 teams that probably don't sound familiar to you. Audi, which is the new F1 team, alongside Cadillac, who is also the new F1 team. Audi is a car company. You may know them from their car that they have. And then Cadillac, that is a racing company who also race in WEC, World Endurance Championships. And those 2 teams had their first race, which for me, if it's your first race, I don't expect you to have that good of start, especially because even though Cadillac have gone with experience to go with Bottas and Sergio Perez, I wouldn't say going with experience always helps. And then Audi, they basically took over Sauber, which meant that they had Gabriel Bortoleto and Nico Hulkenberg. Now, that was the season opener, and we can't wait to see what's next, because the next race, which is China in Shanghai, is going to be a sprint weekend, meaning there will only be 1 practice session, sprint qualifying, then the sprint, then the actual qualifying, then the actual race. So let's see what happens, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.